Recording started. Welcome to week 3 mobile web applications. We're going to do a little recap from last week, what we covered in Bootstrap, and then we will do a little bit more in-depth Bootstrap today, and then I'll give you guys some starter code off of my GitHub for Bootstrap 5, and give you guys kind of a tutorial on how to get a starter template for some website development. So let's not forget, I'm just going to grab a seat here because adjust this. Okay, cool. Oh, still facing too far up. Welcome, welcome. Try to figure out my camera here. 1 second. There we go. Cool. I'll share my screen. There we go. So don't forget from week 2, the recording is now posted here. We talk about the Bootstrap intro. All of the PowerPoints are here. Some examples of Bootstrap stuff. The CSS validator that we talked about, some wireframing tools. There's another recording from another semester if you guys are interested in that. And then I think most of you guys did this. I gave marks back. If you have any questions about the marks for the in-class submission and the labs, just let me know and we can figure that out. But don't forget about assignment 1, which is due the 29th at 11:59. So next Wednesday. It is worth 14 points or 14% of your final grade. So if you have any questions, you can ask me today. If there's any questions now, I can take them. But just wanted to give you guys a little reminder about assignment 1, which is building a little website using Bootstrap. It can be a website about anything. Most people do a little personal portfolio, but it's up to you. Any questions about that so far? How's everybody making out with that so far? Any people actually started that? No questions?
Sorry.
Yeah, you have a question, son?
No, it's not about assignment, but last week in class assignment, I didn't know that there is one. I didn't do it yet. The Bootstrap one.
No worries. So, I believe you should still be able to submit. Let's take a look at it here. It was due on the 18th on the Saturday, but you should still be able to submit it. Can you submit something? Can you check? If you click it, will it let you start a submission?
Yeah, I think I still submit.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we try to do that stuff in class. So if you're here in class together, then it guarantees that work's done. So it's kind of like a little reward for the people who are in class. They're going to be finished and on top of their work with the asynchronous or with the synchronous stuff. So yeah, just do your best to keep track of the Blackboard. But
Okay.
yeah, so basically last week with Bootstrap as a review, we covered how to implement Bootstrap. We covered how to put the CSS file into your code. We talked about current standards of web design, so how the logo is typically in the top left and the nav bar is horizontal along the header. Who remembers what were some of the other things that were current web standards? Does anyone remember some of the other ones?
The navigation across the center, if it's like desktop or whatever, and then once it gets down to a smaller size, you want it in the little navicon or hamburger menu or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, totally. And for sure, that's like responsive design, right?
Right.
Where it responds to the screen size. Totally. Yep, that's totally a good one. Any others that people can remember? So I just talked about the logo top left, nav bar horizontal header. What are some other ones that were commonly found features? I'm gonna start picking on people because you guys are too quiet. Dhruv, can you think of any commonly found features?
We can put the different categories in the different choices like
So what do you mean? Different categories and different choices. So expand upon that. You can get someone to help you out too. Harry, if you want to help Dhruv out what he means by that. But are you talking about menu items, Dhruv?
like kind of items.
Oh, Harry just left, so maybe he won't help you. Okay, so like here, like drop down menus, are you kind of talking about that? Like you can put these inside of the other.
Yeah, yeah, exactly the same.
Totally cool. Yeah, nice. Okay, Mathun, I'm gonna pick on you. What's another one that's like a commonly found web design current standard?
Uh, I think search bar.
Yeah, search bar. Awesome. Right there. Cool. So search bar, typically, if it makes sense for your website to have one, users will kind of expect this. Harshil Kumar. Harshil, Harshil Kumar.
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Uh, then we can add about page and we can add divisions in our page where we can, if we click anywhere, it will directly redirect to there. And we can also add that button. If we are in bottom, we can, if we click it, we can go directly to the top.
yeah, that's a good one. So an about page is typically a good one, or a contact or something like that to find more information about the website. Um, and maybe you're also kind of thinking about like this whole thing here, contact directories, about, and social media links. All of that stuff is usually at the bottom of a page in a footer. And then yeah, like at the bottom of the page, having like the back to top button or something like that is also a good thing to have. Cool. So those were some of the current standards. I'm glad you guys remember them. That's great. And then we kind of talked about a intro back into HTML, CSS, and then how to implement Bootstrap. And then we got a nav bar working with Bootstrap 5. So that was all week 2. Let's get into week 3. So we're going to build kind of off of what we have. So in weekly learning, week 3, I want you guys to download off of GitHub. You're going to see, what is it? Is it root folder. So open the root folder, and then there will be starter code on the GitHub. This is my GitHub, Bootstrap 5 starter code. You can just click this green button and hit download zip. Okay. I'm going to open a PowerPoint and kind of do some, talking about what we're going to do today. But if you can get that extracted, so download the zip and then extract it and save it into wherever you want to do your week 3 stuff for this course. So you can save it in your mobile web applications or your downloads. I wouldn't suggest saving it in your downloads. I would actually suggest putting it somewhere where you can kind of keep track and remember where your websites are for this class. Cool? Awesome. All right. So I'll open up the PowerPoint for this week while you guys do that and download the starter code from the Blackboard. Cool. So we talked about Bootstrap. We talked about what it was, how it's responsive, and then we did this, right? We made a Daffodil Woodlands page that's actually responsive. So this was the old style, right? And then this was the new style where it's actually responsive when you put it into mobile. Remember, you have the large, and then you have the medium and the small, and then this contact me was its own column of 3, and then it slipped under once we went into a mobile view. Right? So you can see they're all in their own column here. But then as we make it bigger, that contact me shows up again on the side. Cool. And here's a side-by-side comparison as to why we make responsive things. Cool. And we made this. Remember, some helpful links, some Bootstrap classes, and getting Bootstrap installed. And then a reminder about assignment 1, which we already talked about. That due date is irrelevant. But so today we're going to talk about hyperlinks and nav bars. So in week 3, the code is here. Hopefully you guys have had a chance to get it downloaded. I'm just going to open it up in Visual Studio Code as my preferred coding environment. So let's see here. What I'm going to do is File, Open Folder, and navigate to the root folder of the starting code. Cool. And you should have, when you open it, an images folder with 2 images, top hat and flower, an about page, an index, and lists. All right. All right. Now, if we open up this page, let's take a look at what we're working with so far. So we've got what we developed last week, okay? And we've got our about and contact me. And there's a button down here now. This button doesn't really do too much. There's an about me. With this, it says, how do we get this footer on the bottom? Try adding this class. And then we've got this page called lists, and it doesn't do anything either. Cool. Now, if we go into our mobile view, see, okay, the menu is working. So that's great. We've got our menu working and everything is responsive. So it's kind of where we left off last week. And these pages don't do too much, but we do have pages working. That was something we didn't really cover last week, but I'll show you guys how we got that working in this starter code, okay? Other than that, we get started here. Code. So let me just close this and okay. Just gonna get thing open. Okay, is everybody good to go? Do they have their code open? Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page as we start. Yes, thumbs up if everyone's good to go. I'm not seeing the thumbs up today. For some reason, they're not coming through, or I'm not getting any. Are people, you can put in the chat too. Okay, Michelle, you're good to go. Okay, awesome. All right, so you'll see as we go through this, we'll open up the index.html first, that I've got some comments on most of the stuff here, right? This is the title for our tab in the browser. This links to our style sheet. This links to our Bootstrap. Now I've got Bootstrap 5.1 in here for my styles. And then our body tag contains most of the website. All right. Now for our navbar, how did we get it working so that when I click the about link, it goes to about.html? Well, I've got another page here called about.html, but basically in my navbar, in my UL, I have, which basically stands for unordered list. I have list items, okay? And my list items have the classes, the Bootstrap classes of nav item and nav link, okay? So these will appear in my navbar as nav links. And then I do an href, which is our link tag in HTML, to about.html. Now, because it's in the root folder, I don't need to do slash or anything like that because it's in the same directory, okay? And then I have the same thing here for lists.html, okay? You can also put an href on our navbar brand, which says flowers, and we can actually link it to our index.html or whatever page we want. So basically when we click it, if I click this flowers, it'll take me to the home page. But right now it's not linking to anything, it's just linking to a hashtag. Okay, an important thing to note as well is on your home page here, you can see how it's highlighted and I can tell that I'm on the home page. Whereas when I go to About Me and I hover over it, they automatically kind of highlight. That's a Bootstrap thing right there. Otherwise, you'd have to code that from scratch. Now, if I click About Me and I go to the about.html, we can see we got routed to it there in our URL address. If I click it, notice how it's not actually highlighted anymore. It's not telling me that I'm on that page. If I look at the nav bar, it's good to have an indication of what page you're on. So I can see that I'm on the about page here, and I know I'm on the about page because of this. But if I look at the nav bar, I don't know which one of these is highlighted. Whereas if I go home, see how it's actually highlighted white? Same thing with lists, it's not highlighted. So the reason that when we're on index.html, which is the home page, that it's highlighted is because it has this class active, okay? The reason when we're on about page.html, if I come back down to my nav bar on that page, we can see there's no active class in any of these. Now, if I put active, okay, say I just copied and pasted my entire nav bar, this whole thing. If I copy this and then I paste it onto my about page, the active class will still be on my index.html. So if I save that, now you don't have to code this with me right now. You can just follow along. If I save that, when I go to the About Me, look, the home is still highlighted. So I actually have to change the code on the about.html for my navbar. So I'm just going to cut this, Control X and Control V, and paste it right there. Okay, so add active to your about.html, and then I'll just open up lists.html, and I'll come down here and add active to that class as well. We're adding active to the anchor class. Okay, so we save those. Let's reload our page and check this out. Now when I'm on lists, it's highlighted. When I'm on About Me, it's highlighted. And when I'm on the home page, it's highlighted. Cool? Does that make sense? Awesome. All right. Oh, one other thing I wanted to talk about. So this is now available on Blackboard in week 3. I remember we talked about this. Michelle, you wanted a link to it. So it's on Blackboard in responsive grid example right there. Just wanted to make that known to everybody. And before we keep going, I'm going to do this. Additional pages. We already did that. Okay, so I just talked about the active class here, right? In our LI, which basically makes this home element active. All right. And cool. Next thing I want to talk about. Okay, everybody's got that working? I'm going to go ahead. I'm assuming everybody's got that working. Okay, awesome. Next thing we want to do is we want to change the link for our actual Navbar brand. This is class Navbar brand, which is basically our top left here. So if I click this, we can see it just adds a hashtag. And the reason is for that is because all I've got in there is a hashtag. I want it to link to index.html if I click that, right? So like if you're on any website and you click the logo or whatever it is in the top left, usually you expect as a user it to take you to the home page. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that that link is working. So if I'm on index.html and I click this, it reloads back to index.html. Now if I go to About Me and I click it, look, the hashtag is still there. Well, the reason for that is we have to update this link on every single one of our pages. So we go to our about.html and we type index.html. Okay, and we go to our lists.html and we type index.html. It can seem repetitive, which is why you kind of make your navbar on one page and then you copy paste it and customize it on each page. So I'll refresh that now and I'm on About Me and I click this and look, I clicked flowers and it brought me back to the index.html. Awesome. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is lists in HTML. So, no, I don't. Just kidding. I will get to lists, but before we get to the lists page, we're going to talk about this button. Okay. So this button at the bottom of the page, who was it that was mentioning bring you to the top of the page? I think it was Harshil Kumar. You were mentioning that usually there's a button at the bottom that says back to top or something. So we can actually add that functionality. If we go to our index.html, let's go take a look at what that button is. So we come down here, here's our paragraphs. We've got our column of 9. So that's all highlighted in this div. And then we've got our column of 3. And all of that is in this container. Underneath that is our footer, okay? Now, here's our button. And we can see I've given it a couple classes. First class is BTN, which just classifies it as a button. And all that's going to do, if we go to our page here, is it's going to give it some rounded corners. And when I put my mouse over it, it changes the cursor to a little hand with a clicky finger. And it also changes the highlight color. So we can see that it goes from a lighter green to a darker green. All right. It also has a little animation when I click it. See that highlighted border when I click it? So a couple things that BTN class does that Bootstrap automatically has in CSS. The other thing, BTN success, is the color green. If I do BTN danger and save it and refresh, we can see it changes to red. Okay. So I'll just leave it green for now. But there's a bunch of colors of pre-made classes you can kind of mess around with. Now we want to make it go back to top, right? So we can do back to top. We can type that in the text. All right. And then what we want to do is give it an href. And in there, we want to mention an element that's at the top of the page. So we'll say this thing. We're going to give our image an ID of top. So the ID is top, and then up here we will just say href hashtag top. All right. And now what that should do is this flower will have the ID of hashtag top. So when we click that button, it's linked to hashtag top, which is the flower. All right. So if I click this, it should bring me up there. See. Sorry, guys. Stop. Should work. Oh. Tag instead of a flat. Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Anyways, the next thing I want to talk about is our footer. So we can see here our footer is really nice. I'll come back to that after. I just need to take a look at some of the code that's not working. But our footer is nice on this page, right? It's on the bottom and it's not in our way. As we scroll down, we can see it there. What about this page, the About Me page? It's kind of at the top and it's not even going all the way across. So let's take a look at our about.html and take a look at our footer at the bottom. So here we can see it's got an ID of footer. So I gave it that footer. And if we take a look at style.css, we can see hashtag footer, which is the ID selector. And I'm applying basically the same things that I'm applying to the header and footer class. Now, because it's a div, I can also give it some classes, some Bootstrap classes. And what we want to try doing is adding the class fixed bottom, okay? Okay, and if we do fixed bottom, basically that's a predetermined Bootstrap class that will fix that footer to the bottom, and it will make it stretch all the way across. Cool? So just add fixed bottom right there, and that should be good. Cool. Then you can put all your about contact info right there. Awesome. Now I want to talk about lists. So in HTML, there's two types of lists. You have unordered lists and ordered lists. Unordered lists are basically bullet points, like here we can see. And then, oh, I'm missing the chat here. Sorry. If you put ID in the nav bar, I can try it in a little bit. I'm going to try to figure it out over the break, and then we can get it working. But and then an ordered list has numbers like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it puts them in order. So here's an example of HTML code with an unordered list. This is kind of what we put in our nav tag, or nav element, or nav bar. And then if you do an ordered list tag, then it will look something like this. Inside of your nav bar, Bootstrap's going to style it according to this style. But outside of your nav bar, we can make ordered lists for things depending on what we want, really. So for the nav bar, these are the classes we need to include. List group item, and active are basically classes we can put onto list items. So on your UL, which is your unordered list, you put list group, and then on your LI, your list item, you put list group item. So let's try doing this without any Bootstrap. Let's just type this code, UL and LI, list item 1, list item 2, list item 3, in our lists page. So let's go to lists in our Visual Studio Code, and you're going to scroll down. You're going to see some commented out code. So basically, I want you to take this, highlight it, and then just do Control/ or Control Shift/. This is the shortcut now. Selection. Just uncomment it, but we're getting the toggle line comment. Control/. Should have worked, but okay. I guess it's a block comment. All right, so just do the first one for now. Actually, just do the first two for now. Cool. H3. I'll do that. So we want this uncommented, and we want this uncommented, and we're going to take a look at what it looks like on our lists page. So this is what an unordered list looks like with no Bootstrap, and this is what an ordered list looks like with no Bootstrap. The only Bootstrap that's being applied here is basically the font family. All right. Now, comment out this, the next two, and this. So this now has our unordered list, but we can see the only difference is we've added the class list group to the UL and the class list group item to the LI. And then underneath it, there's an ordered list and same classes, list group and list group item. So just uncomment those two paragraphs there, save your file, and refresh your page. And look, right away, we can see what a difference, that it makes. And it basically makes unordered lists and ordered lists the same. It gets rid of the numbers, and it just kind of adds this nice border, and it fills the entire container that it's in width-wise. So it's a really smart looking way of doing lists with Bootstrap. Cool. If we keep going, this last one, I want you to highlight, or uncomment, sorry, is going to be highlighting an active item in a list. So you have list group item, but then same class that we used before in our nav bar is the active class, and we put it on list item 2. So I'm going to save that and run it, and look, list item 2 is active right there. Cool. So that's what the active class does. Cool. All right. Next thing we want to do is I'm going to show you how to add a note right here under this comment, how to add a note. Okay, so the note is basically it's kind of something you can put at the top of your page that is like an alert to your users. Just another handy little bit of Bootstrap styling that you can know about. So we'll do class equals, and then we're going to give it margin 3. class of alert and alert warning. We're going to give it a role of alert. Then we're going to close that div, and in between it, I'm going to do strong. Who knows what strong does?
It makes text bold.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. It makes the text bold. I'm just going to type an arbitrary message. Cool. And I'm going to save that. And then the rest of this stuff, I'm going to comment out. So this one, I'm going to comment all those lists that I had you uncomment. I'm going to comment those out, because those are just an example. Control / is how I'm doing it. But I'm going to keep the div class container. Okay. Cool. So this is all we should have, is this. Cool. So I just said the products listed below are fictitious and not actually available for purchase. So we're going to make a store page, all right? Because later in our web app, we're going to make a web app for products, or maybe you'll have food, or maybe you'll have something like that that you'll be able to click around with. So it'll be good for you to know how to design a Bootstrap product page with Bootstrap. Cool? All right. So what does that do for our page? So let's take a look at it. First of all of those will disappear, and then we can see this little highlighted banner at the top of our page, which is kind of cool, and it just displays a little note. So that's what basically an alert and alert warning class do. And we didn't have to do any CSS, which is awesome. Cool. Give a little bit of a title here. So with an H3, I'll give it a class of margin 3. And then I'm going to say links in a list badges is the first example. Should look like that. Cool. So we're not done with the lists yet. Okay. So we did these lists. We talked about list group item action. Basically allows them to be clickable, and then you can add links to them. And then if you want to make a horizontal list, you just do list group horizontal in your UL tag. There's a couple other classes. So badges are these little pills, and we can add a list group item with a badge on it if you wanted to say how many items or how many emails were unread or something like that. So let's take a look at making some badges on our lists. So we'll start with a div, as always, and then we'll do a class of list group, just like before. And then inside of that, we're going to do an A, or an anchor tag, with a class of list group item, list group item action, and then we're going to give it a link, href equals index.html. So it'll bring us back home. For now, we're just going to link it to index, but in here, you could have one of your products if you wanted to sell hand cream or something. Cool. I'm going to take that whole line, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it 2 more times underneath. And then I'm just going to add a couple extra classes. So I'm going to add active to the second one, and I'm going to add disabled to the third one. So I'm just showing you guys active hand cream and then disabled hand cream. I'm just going to type so we know which one's which. I'm just showing you guys some examples of Bootstrap classes that you can use to modify the page the way you want it to look. So if we refresh this, here we can see, if I go to lists, that's how you actually add a link. You just say basically list group item action and then href. Okay, so that one will bring me to index, and it does, so that's cool. And then active, we can see it also has the same link, and it's currently selected, so it's got the active class on it. And then disabled, it actually won't let me click it. Even though I put the list group item action and I put the link, it won't let me click it because it's disabled. And you can see it's slightly grayed out. Cool? Cool. So that's list group item action. Cool. Beneath that, okay, I'm going to copy one more of these. We're going to add another list, but this time I'm going to put my classes on a new line each time I do a new class. So I've got list group item action, and then I'm going to do deflex, justify content between, and align items center. So a couple more classes. href can be nothing for now. We'll just put something in there, and we'll sell a skateboard or something. I don't know. Actually, no, we'll call this. All right. Now, before the end of your anchor tag here, okay, this is the start of our anchor tag. And if I just tab it in, there's the end of it. Before the end of it, I'm going to tab in one more time, and I'm going to do a span, okay? A span is kind of like another little section that we can put HTML code in, and I'm going to give it a class of badge, background, so BG, danger, and then rounded pill, okay? And then in the actual span, I'm going to type 99 plus, so that's the content inside the span, okay? So we just put a span right after the word emails there, just before the end of our anchor tag. I'll give you guys a minute to copy that. I'm just going to go grab my water, and I'll Cool. Any questions about this stuff so far, guys? Are you guys following along? I want you guys to be doing this with me so that if you have questions, we can figure it out together. That would be great. All good so far? Can I get a show of thumbs ups or little party emojis? You know, put them up in the chat if you guys are good. I want to get some interaction here. Still typing? Okay, no worries. Mathun, Dhruv, Sun, Fam, Varun, how are you guys doing? Are you guys following along?
Yes, yeah. Can you just be a little slower, please? Just
You want me to slow down a little bit? Okay.
just a little bit, yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I can. Sometimes I get ahead of myself because I've got it all done in my head already, but for sure. Yeah. I'll go a little bit slower. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'll just kind of explain again what's happening here. But we've got a list group, right? And that's this div. And I'll just do an annotation. You can see this gray line here coming down. And that is our div, okay? Everything inside of that is going to be indented. And everything inside of that is our list group, which is this class. Then we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is hard for me to draw. 4 anchor classes, okay? And anchor class is basically something you can put a link inside of with some text on a link. Typically, it'll just appear as text, and then you give it an href. But because we added these classes, so list group item, so it's the same as it's in a list group, but then we do list group item, and then list group item action, which means it's going to be clickable. Then we give it the href. We can now give it a value of hand cream, and then it will appear as basically an item that's clickable inside of a list group. This is going to be the same thing. It's got the same classes, so list group item action, but then deflex, justify content between and align items center, is just a way of formatting it so that span and the text are equally spaced apart. Deflex in particular, let's see what Bootstrap's documentation says on this. It basically is just flexible, responsive layout structure. See Bootstrap. So if we look at, sorry, just to, I know you guys are using the code, but just to look at the flex class on the get bootstrap documents, come here. This is the flex class, and we can see a display, applied display utilities to create a flexbox container and transform direct children elements into flex items. Flex containers and items are able to be modified further with additional flex properties. So we can see this is a container now, so deflex, and then it's got padding 2, and then it's going to have this highlighted color, okay? Now this one is an inline flex container, which means it's only going to go as wide as the content. So because we added deflex, this is going to become a container that goes all the way across the div, if that makes sense. So that's why these lists go all the way across that container. So if I refresh this here, we can see here's our emails. It doesn't link to anything because we put a hashtag in it, and there's our badge. All right, so it's a deflex, which means it goes all the way across the div. And then it's a justified content between, which means those pills, or that pill of background danger, is going to be stretched all the way to the right. And then the align items center, actually, we can see if we get rid of that. Let's see what that does. Doesn't change too much. I just put that in from some, let's see. You can see it changes the pill a little bit. If you look at the shape of the pill, if I undo this, oops, gosh. Okay, if I undo it and save, you keep your eye on the pill, you'll see it gets a little bit taller on the top and the bottom. And you can see that the 99 plus has a bit of extra space on the bottom. It doesn't look very centered. So basically it's just gonna align those items vertically. So you'll see that little space on the bottom there where my mouse cursor is, it's just gonna disappear. So that's what that class does. Cool. Cool, so that's how we add a little pill. You can do a bunch of different pills. So we can do BG danger, we can do BG warning, which will be yellow. So if we change that to warning, see it's yellow. And if we do BG success, it will be green. There's a couple other colors that we can use, like BG primary, I believe is blue. Yep. And I don't know if there's BG secondary. It's gray. So if you look at Bootstrap 5 BG colors, we can look up a list and see what background colors are available to us. So here we see success is green, danger is red, warning is yellow, info is a light blue, light and dark are just white and black, and then we can see primary and secondary are gray. If you obviously want to use different colors, then what you can do is specify a background color. Most background color utilities are generated by our theme colors, reassigned from our generic color palette variables. Grayscale colors are also available. So if you want to use colors, there's great documentation on it there. So for now, I'll just leave this as a BG danger. Cool. Now what I like to do, and if you feel comfortable but don't feel like any pressure to do this, is I copy this entire A tag that we just made, okay, with the pill in it. I do a couple new lines and I paste it. I go a couple more lines and I paste it again. And then I just change danger to warning in the second one and success in the third one. And I like to change these numbers to say 13 and say if it's over 50, then it will be yellow. So as the numbers get bigger, the colors change. Change this from emails to orders and or something like that. So now if I refresh it, I've got 3 of those, and we can see I've got red, yellow, and green, and they correspond with emails, orders, and notifications. Cool. Code. So if you want to, but don't feel pressure to, you can copy that A class and play around with the background color and some of the content. Cool. So we said that we were going to make a product, right? If I go, we say the products are listed below are fictitious and not actually available. So where are the products? Well, we've got links with a list of our products. So we've got hand cream. So let's actually make a product called hand cream. So we're going to design a little bit of a product page here using Bootstrap. Okay, and I've got a bit of a commenting structure set out with columns of 6 commented. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to just design that together here. So under our new container comment on line 152, at least it's my line 152. For you, it might be a little bit less if you didn't add those extra anchor tags. We're going to make a new div, and we're going to give it a couple of classes. These are not new classes, okay? Well, some of them are, but container is not new. And if we save this, 1 second. Close that. Enter. If I save this, we'll see nothing actually happens. We can't see anything. But if I give it a, just to show you what it does, we'll put a border on it. And the class for that would be border. If you want to give it a color, you can do border dash, and then primary, secondary, success, or whatever. So I'm going to give it a border here. So container, space, border, and by default, I think it'll be black. So if I refresh this, we can see that I just got a little bit of a gray outline there. Because there's no content in the div, it's basically a height of 0. So we're just seeing the border of the top and the bottom right beside each other. If I go like this and I put in a bunch of these, they're basically horizontal rulers, HR, HR, HR. We can see there's my horizontal ruler. It's that horizontal line going across. And then here's my div of container. It just contains everything nicely. So I'll get rid of those. And we're going to put some stuff inside of this container, okay? How's everybody doing? Am I going at an all right speed now? I'm trying to slow down a little bit. Cool. Good, okay. So one of the other classes we want to use is card and card body. Background light, margin top 5, margin bottom 5, okay? So the card class if you've ever done Android programming, you'll recognize the term card. But basically what a card is, I'll just cover the code for a second, is it's something like this. So I'll annotate this. This is a card, okay? Android has them all the time in scroll views and stuff, but it's how you can contain a little snippet of information. You can put an image in it, you can put a title on it, you can do whatever you want, okay? So card kind of gives it some rounded corners and a little bit of a light border and sometimes a shadow if you want, okay? You can put text in a card, you can put links with subtitles, you can even put images in a card, okay? You can also put list groups, they're kind of in a card. You can give cards footers and headers like this. This has a card header for featured. And then what else can you do? You can do a bunch of stuff. There's a footer, right? They have a card footer. Yeah, so I'll just cover that up. That's what a card is. So that's what we're going to do here, card and card body inside of this class. Awesome. So next thing we want to do, just like we did before with our index.html, we create rows for the grid, right? Remember talking about the bootstrap grid last week? And the grid goes 12 across. So we want whatever we have in terms of columns to equal up to 12, right? So the first thing we got to do is do a div, give it a class of row. We're going to give it some margin on the top and some margin on the bottom. And we close that off and hit enter. So I have two divs and one is tabbed in. Okay. On my first tab in, okay, we can see here, first column of 6. I'm going to bring that comment up. I'm going to control exit and I'm going to control V right here. So our first column of 6. I'm going to create a div in here. Hit enter. And then underneath the third closing div that we just created, I'm going to go behind it or after it, hit enter a couple times and bring up this comment of second column of 6, if that makes sense. Okay, and then I'm going to do a couple more enters. And under my second column of 6, I'm going to do another div. All right, so what we should have is basically, this makes sense. I'll do a couple comments or a couple spaces in between each one so you can kind of visually see it. But if I annotate this for you guys, we've got one outer div, which is our container. We've got another nested div, which is our row. And then we've got a div of 6 and a div of 6. Okay, so what it should look like on our page when we view it, okay, and I annotate this. When we go to our page, we should have, okay, our container, which goes all the way across. And in our container, we have a row, which is basically going to be the exact same thing, goes all the way across. That's our row. And in it, we're basically saying we want a column that goes 6, this. We want another column that goes 6 inside of that row, just like that, okay? So we've got our 6 and our 6, okay? And they can stretch all the way down. They don't have to be that, like they could be taller than this. It could be shorter than this. It just depends how much content you put in this column, right? A column can go all the way down. If there's a ton of text in it, just like our about page, or sorry, our index page, we go to the home, it can go all the way down like this. It just depends how much content you have, right? So that is what we're doing here. We have our column of 6 and our column of 6. Everybody good with that? Does that make sense? So that's what's going on with the grid. Thumbs up. Little party hats. You can give me thumbs down too. If it doesn't make sense, I can try to. I like the party hat one. Nice. Cool. Okay. Good. Glad you guys got thumbs up for that. All right. So that is what's going on with the grid here. And in our first div, okay, in order to make it a column, we have to give it the class of column. So that's how Bootstrap works. So we give class, col for column, dash, and then the size that we want it to become that column size, okay? So remember, Bootstrap works and specifies that size, and I think it's that size, and from that size up, it'll be like that. So any smaller, so if I do LG on a large display, it'll be a column of 6, but then any smaller than that, it'll just default to being 12, I believe. So on a medium display, which is like a tablet or a laptop, it'll default to being a column of 6, but then once I squish the screen to a small or an extra small, like a phone, it'll just default to taking the full width of 12, if that makes sense. So medium and larger, so MD and LG, or if I do SM, MD, and LG, it just includes all the way above it. So we'll do medium for now, and then we want a column of 6, okay? Cool. So that's going to be our class. And we're going to do this class actually for both. So I'll just copy that, and then I'll just paste it right down here. So both divs will have columns of 6. Okay, and I can just kind of test to see if this is working by coming in here and just doing some gibberish and just seeing if these appear beside each other. Okay, so let's go to our lists page, and look, there we go. So basically, the text isn't centered or anything about like that. You don't have to worry about that, but we can basically imagine we've got a column of 6 and we've got a column of 6 because the text starts here, right? So just because it's not centered or it's not going all the way across doesn't mean our columns aren't working. It's all in this row, right? Going like this. This is our row. And then we've got our column of 6 and our column of 6 going like this. Awesome. So it is working. That's great. So we know our Bootstrap code is good there. I can get rid of this gibberish code or gibberish ASDF. And what we can do is we can now add or start to add some of the content that we want inside of this div. So the way I like to do this for my product page, and maybe we can get some inspiration. I'm just going to cover up the code for a second there. We can go to Amazon or something. And I don't know, we can click sports and outdoors. Go outdoor recreation. And let's click a product like a hat. Okay. How does Amazon list their products? Well, I kind of think Amazon is a good company to look at as an example here. But basically, okay, I'll start annotating this. If I was Amazon, I was using Bootstrap, which I don't know if they're using Bootstrap or not. But basically, it looks like they've got a column of 6, and then maybe a column of 6 here, or maybe, actually, I don't know how to do. Let's restart. Maybe what they've got going on is they've got a column of 6 for their images, column of 4 for their description, and another column of 2 for the add to cart, right? So this is maybe 6, this is maybe 4, and this is maybe 2. And then inside of here, they've got, you know, some header information or some H1s. They've got their stars and their ratings. They've got this horizontal ruler, okay? And then they've got the price down here with some more description. Cool. So let's design it similar to Amazon, because I like this layout. It's pretty intuitive. Everyone, you know, they like to see the picture big and then the price on the right. It's pretty intuitive. So let's do that. So we want to sell hand cream, I guess. So what we can do is actually, no, let's look. What do we have in here? Top hat, right? You should check your images folder. You've got flower.jpg and then you've got top hat. In top hat, we can sell a hat, sure. So let's do that. Let's make an IMG tag. We'll give it an ID. And the ID will be hat_IMG. And then we're going to give it a class. And the class is important for Bootstrap, okay? So img-fluid, which means it's going to be responsive to the size of the container that it's in. So if it's in a 6 wide column, it'll take up all the 6 grid columns, okay? If it's in a 4 wide column, it'll take up all 4 columns, and it will be fluid. Okay, now the source is where we get the actual image from. So images, it's in our images folder / top _ hat .png. Okay, and it's important to make sure you get the extension correct. So top _ hat .png, and it's in my images folder. All right, and then for accessibility reasons, we'll give it an alt tag, and I'll just say black top hat. Right, so our screen readers will read that to people who are either visually impaired or have slow internet connection and they can't load the image. Let's save that and let's take a look to see if that actually worked on our page. There it is. There's our hat. Cool. Now, I found this hat image on a royalty-free website called Pixabay. So one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is any resources or images you guys use, make sure that you are sourcing from something that's royalty-free or copyright-free or basically, you know, able to be used for the Creative Commons license, because one thing you want to avoid doing if you're making websites, web apps, is, you know, infringe on other people's work or take work without crediting someone. So a great website that I would suggest and that I used for this is called Pixabay. I have over 2.4 million royalty-free images. You can just type in here, like I did, a hat, and then you can find all sorts of hats that you want to sell for your hat store, etc. There's a lot more websites than Pixabay. Pixabay is just one that I've used in the past. So you can also create your own content. If you're selling something, you can take pictures of it and upload them into your folder as well. All right. Now in our second column, what we want to do is give that description, right? And give the stars and give the price. So a couple things that's going to happen here. We're going to give an H3 tag, which will be our title, black top hat. Okay, and if I save that, let's go back to our page and see what that looks like. Okay, it's coming along here. Hat, black top hat. And we're going to give a little description. So I'm going to type a paragraph tag, and I'm just going to make some stuff up. I already have a little description typed out over here. I can put it in the chat if you want. This black hat is sure to impress. It's a one-of-a-kind, classy and fun. And I'll put it in the chat if you want that code. It's already in the P tag. Cool. So what are we working with so far? Well, if we refresh it, we should have a title and a description. Awesome.
Ben, could you show me how your page looks again? I'm not sure because my black top hat little thing there is kind of indented, and so is the top thing. Is that mine doesn't go the whole width, but the hand cream and all of those, I don't know if I missed something. The hand cream is right to the edge of the page, and the rest is kind of in somewhat.
So you might be missing, let's take a look here. Everything is inside of a div container here. So just make sure that's not commented out. When you went back to comment out our examples of list items here, there's a div container, and that div container, let me see how far it goes.
What line is it on? 64, maybe?
64, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I did comment out that. Okay.
Yeah, and that should go all the way, see? Oh, I might not have closed it. So I would close that div container just before we started this container. That's why it says new container there in the comment. So you can close that container, and then we have our new container. And then see if that actually does something for you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. So
Yeah, that
now,
worked. That
yeah,
helped.
it worked?
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Next thing we want to do, if we take a look at our Amazon product here, is so they've got the title, right? And then they have these stars, 4.3 out of 5. Now, we don't really have, you can do this. It's not necessarily the best way to do it. You could take a picture of a star or go to a royalty-free website and get a star, and then you could put 5 pictures beside each other. There's a lot, there's a much easier way to do this. So I want you guys to Google something called Font Awesome. And some of you may have heard of this before. But basically, it's an icon toolkit for CSS, and we can use it in web design to save us some time, and everything is free. So basically, if we look here up in the icons, we have 7,000 icons, and you can search for whatever icon you want. I want you to search for star, okay? And you can find some empty stars, you can find some filled in stars, we can find Star of David, you can find a little happy face with stars. You can see that they have a ton of them. There's the Jedi Order, they have like Spock hands. It's awesome. Okay, so they've got a bunch of stuff. Some of them you have to pay for, okay, so that's something to be aware of. But you can filter by just free only, and then we can see all of the half stars, etc. All right, so something that I want to do, it's kind of the same thing as Bootstrap, is you import the Font Awesome library. So you can find out how to do this. We click Start, Font Awesome /start. You enter your email, then they'll send you the code that you can import into your website. There's other ways to do it. You can serve it yourself and download it, or you can use a link to a CDN, which is basically the same thing that we're doing with Bootstrap. It's linked and it's hosted somewhere online. Now, I've already done the email thing, so you don't have to if you don't want to. I have the link right here, so I'll put it in the chat. But basically, it's a script tag that you import into the head of your file. So at the very top, I'll scroll all the way to the top of the page. See this comment here that says add font awesome for the stars? Basically, if I paste that script file that I just put in the chat for you guys, we can see the source is from https:/usefontawesome.com, and it's this JavaScript file. So if I just copy that web address and we go visit it, let's go take a look at what it looks like. So basically, it's this JavaScript file. It's got a bunch of functions, and they use fontawesome.com. There's the CDN, Content Delivery Network. They get it through this port, and then a bunch of style sheets, webhooks that they pull their icons from. Awesome. Okay, so it's important to know the names of the fonts or the icons that you want to use. So want to use the star, for example. Click it. You can see here they have classes or HTML code called FAS FA-star, and that is what you need to put in your class if you want to use a star. Now they have it in an I tag. What we can do is we can try it in an I tag, but you can also put it in a span, which is what I'll be doing. So basically I come here into my Visual Studio Code. I scroll down now that I've got the link to the JavaScript file, and underneath my paragraph, okay, I'm just going to go to the end, enter a couple of new lines, and then right here, I'm going to do a bunch of spans, right? And in that span, we're going to do the class that they suggested. So I type class, and just like we do Bootstrap classes, we can now reference font awesome classes. So let's go back to the code and see what it was. It was FAS FA-star. So FAS FA-star. Cool. Now if I save that, I go to my website, refresh. It's just a box right now. Works if I don't do the S. Which is interesting. If you get rid of the S, it'll work, but let's try to see if they've changed their kit code. Let's see. They may have changed some things, so let's just see. So if you get rid of the S, it worked for me. Whoops. Junk mail. See if there's a new. Yeah, so they use FAS, FAR, FAL, FAD, and FAB, but mine is using FA and it worked. It's interesting. But when I do FAS, it doesn't work. So let's see if I can get this to the new kit. Awesome kit. Click to confirm your email and set things up. Okay. The setup link is bad. Did you guys get the star working on your end? Thumbs up, party icon, anything? Just want to know if it worked for you guys with FAS or FA. See if they changed the this. Let's see. Okay, so there is a new script file, so we can try using this. I'll put it in the code there for you. Okay. It worked with FA for you, okay? Well, I'm going to try this to see if it works with FAS or FA. If not, we'll just keep using FA, but I want to see if FAS works because that's the new.
Yeah, I got the new script file and it worked with the FAS.
Cool. Yeah, same. Awesome. Okay. So you can use that new script file or you can use the old one. It's up to you. We're going to, what was the other star? I want to get a half star as well. Star dash half. So it's probably very similar. FAS, FA dash star dash half. So I'm going to copy that as well. So we're going to make another span. Same thing, class FAS, FA dash star dash half, and close that span. And then I'm going to do, I don't know, 4.5 stars. So I'm just going to copy the first 4 and then make this, this half. Let's see. Star half. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now if we refresh our page, we should have 4.5 stars. There we go. Now, one thing I want to show you guys is like what Amazon does. See how their stars are actually yellow? So it's 4.5 out of 5. It looks like they're actually filled in. So what we can do is go to our style.css code here, and we can add another class at the very end. I already have it here. See it maybe if you want, but I'll try to zoom in. It's dot checked is the class I made, and I just basically applied the color orange to it. You got it working for FA. Oh, interesting. Did you use the old script, Varun, or the new script?
The old script, but it's not looking for the half star.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to use the new script, because the half star is part of their new kit.
Okay.
And so you have to use the new script, and then you have to do it with FAS, which, whatever, it's Font Awesome 6, so it's their new version. The script I gave you is for the older version, maybe Font Awesome 5. I can't remember the version, but so if we add that class dot checked, so if we go to lists.html, and basically there's already a couple classes on some of these, right? There's FAS, FA-star, and now if I just add the class checked, I save it and I go back, the first star should be orange. Check that out. There we go. So star half alt. I actually like that one better because that looks like the one Amazon uses. Star dash half dash alt. And then I'm going to add checked to all of these. Make sure there's a space in between. Save that. So there's the code, and it should look something like Amazon's. There we go. We got our 4.5 star rating on this black top hat. Coolio. Oh, and I've gone right through. Did I give you guys a break yet? Do you guys want to take a little 10-minute break to stretch your legs? Sorry, we've just been coding. I got into it, but I can give you guys a little 10-minute break if you want. Show a thumbs up or whatever if you guys want to. There's only how many of you guys are left right now? There's only 4 of you guys, so it's totally up to you. Your call. If you want to just power through for the next half an hour. Or take 10 minutes and then we can get back into it. But I'm not sure what the thumbs up is referring to now. If the thumbs up refers to the powering through or if the thumbs up refers to the 10-minute break. Party. Okay. Give me party hats if you want a 10-minute break, and give me thumbs up if you want to just power through. Party hat. It's one party hat, one thumb up. Okay, 1-1. One party hat. Okay, 2-1 for the break. All right. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we will get back into it. All right. I'll leave my code up on the screen here if you guys have any issues. This is the container that we're dealing with. I'll just turn off my mic and camera, and we'll be back at 1:35-ish. 10 minutes? Cool. I'll pause the recording too. All right, welcome back. The recording has resumed. And so we left off with adding the .checked class to our style .css. And then we basically applied it to our stars, and we have stars that look like this. So a couple other things that Amazon has, they have this HR, this horizontal ruler. So we can add that pretty easily in our HTML on our lists.html. After the last span, you just do an open, HR, and then a close. You don't even have to have an open and a close together. You can just basically do it like an IMG tag where the close is all in one statement. If I save that, we'll see it'll look something similar to what they've got going on there with that horizontal line stretching across this 6-wide column. So we just put one of those in there. Cool. And then basically we want to do the price after this. So I'll do an H3, make this top hat $59.99. Close our H3. And then after that, we'll do another H3. And then inside of this, we're going to do in stock. We can add a class of text-success, which instead of setting the background, will actually set the text color to green. So if we take a look at what that should look like, it'll add a price and it'll add in stock underneath the horizontal ruler. Cool. So the horizontal rulers, I actually really like them. They're pretty good for styling, and they just basically visually separate sections on a page. So I'm going to add another horizontal ruler, and then I'm going to add 2 buttons. These buttons will be for purchasing or adding to your cart or your wish list or something like that. So the first button I'm going to say is a type button, and then it'll be a class equals btn-success. And then inside of the button area where we have our span, basically we can add, sorry, not our span, where we would type our text, we'll type add to cart. All right. And then we can actually add an icon as well. So we can go back to our font awesome, which is pretty awesome. And we can type cart and take a look at what we want. So cart-plus is pretty good. That one. So the class for that is FAS-FA-cart-plus. So same thing. We can add a span. We can try it with their I tag as well. I don't know exactly. I haven't used it before, but basically I think it's the same thing. I class. Actually, I can just copy it. If you click it, copy the HTML. Put it right there. So I have an open I, class equals FAS-FA-cart-plus, and then I have a closing I, which is just an icon. So if I save this, let's take a look at what it looks like. Add to cart, and there's a little cart. I can put a couple spaces in between there so that it's a bit neater. There's some space between the button. Cool. We can also put a little bit of margin as a class in there as well, because we've got Bootstrap, so margin 4, I don't know. But I only want margin on the one side, so Bootstrap margin right. Spacing, margin, and if you want it on the right, you do R. So we do MR, MR-4. Cool. Padding. A little bit of spacing, but not too much. Anyways, so that's how we can have a button right there. So we've got our type is button, class is BTN, BTN success makes it green. Then the I class is our little shopping cart inside of it, and then we have our text for add to cart. I can, oh, I typed buttons. I meant to type button. Surprised that still worked. Okay. I can copy that entire line and make a second button. And instead of BTN success, I'll just do BTN warning to make a yellow one. And then I'm going to do add to wish list. So, I don't know. Let's see. It's an icon for wish list. Just list. Type shop. There's got to be something. I don't know, cart arrow down. You're putting it in your wish list. I don't know, cart arrow down. Yeah. So we can try. You can try any icon that you like, really. Just click that, place the icon, and then just change the text to add to wish list. Or you can make a buy now button if you want with a $sign on it or something like that. Try that and let's see. Add to wish list. There we go. We got a little plus and a little down arrow. And just like that, we've got a nice product that looks just like, well, in a simpler form, it looks kind of like what Amazon's got going on. Now, under their price, they have a little list here, which we can do, of little bullet points of features of the product. So we can, just like what we had before, we can kind of scroll up and grab one of our list items. They have it in an unordered list like this. So if you really wanted to make it look like Amazon's, you could, underneath the buttons or something, put a little UL and just say all the things that this product is good at underneath right there. Now their purchase buttons on Amazon are in a separate column. We can look at, you can put columns inside of, you could make another row in here and do 2 columns of 6 and kind of split it up. That could be something that I cover in a separate video for you guys, but this is just a basic way of making a product, a little product page. So that's it. This entire container is our entire thing. So if I just annotate here for a little bit, indulge my drawing skills. This is our entire container, I guess you call it, right? And then we have our row right here. So what this row is doing is basically the row going across. Then we've got our column of 6 and another column of 6. And that is kind of, by Alt Tab here, double click. Did this, but our row is this, and it will stretch down. Our column of 6 is this and this. And then we've kind of just put all our information in our second div, which is basically all of this stuff. Cool. So you can see why indenting your code helps, because all of this stuff that's indented is inside of our one column, and I can kind of visualize it. And same thing with this one, our image is indented in there, and then they're indented inside of my row, and then my row is indented inside of my container. Cool. That's why nesting is helpful. Awesome. Did everybody get that working? Assuming so. Could you show me your upper code? My upper code being which part? upper code way up here, the very top. Oh, there. I scrolled too far. Here, the lists.
No, just like at the top before the div, the container div, like the last stuff we had, but the before the new container.
Before the new
That with the
container?
pills and all that. Yeah, that's
Stuff.
where.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. So, another thing I wanted to talk about. So we got our footer working, right? And we used the fixed dash bottom. Michelle, I'm just gonna hop over to the about.html page here really quick. We use this fixed bottom class. Okay. Now, for example, okay, on a page that has scrolling like this one, okay, this doesn't have a footer on it yet, but I'm gonna copy my footer over from about.html and I'm gonna add it to my list.html. Oops. And I'm gonna put the footer at the very bottom, right before my script tag. So we're using fixed bottom. Now, what you're gonna notice what that does, look, it covers some of these list items. You see that? Fixed bottom means it's gonna basically be fixed to the bottom and it's gonna cover any material. So it's gonna be there the whole time. That is not what we want. Our header is fixed. That's nice because it's always there. If we scroll down, just like on the home page, you know, my navigation stuff is always there. But look, the footer, we want to only appear when you're at the very, very bottom. We don't want it to be there the entire time. So the way we stop that is with something called sticky bottom. We want it to stick to the very bottom. The reason we didn't notice this on the about page was because there wasn't enough content to push it out of the way. Oh, you got a screenshot. Okay, cool. Now if I do sticky bottom, look, now it's stuck to the bottom there, but it's only when I scroll down to see it, and it won't actually cover my screen. Cool? So sticky bottom is a helpful thing to know. So on the About Me page, fixed bottom, it doesn't matter because there's no content pushing it. But if I start writing more and more content, it will actually hide behind this. Okay? I want to make sure that's everything I wanted to cover today. Lists, making a product page. So all of this stuff, making a product page in the list.html, all of that code is up here if you want to access it. The PowerPoint review of week 3, responsive grid example, hyperlinks and nav bars is all there. Trying to think about what I have you guys doing. Your assignment is due soon, right? Just want to look at assignment 2. Cool. Yeah, so you're working on assignment 1 that's due September 29th, so that's coming up in 5 days. For this class, if I can get you guys to zip up the code that you guys did today, I'll make a little submission in weekly learning in week 3. So once your code's working and it looks kind of like something like what we got here with the black top hat and whatever, I want you guys to make a second product, okay, for your lab, and I'll make the submission for this, but you're going to make a second product. So basically what you can do is, you know, copy this entire div just like this, copy, paste, and then instead of the image of a hat, you know, we can reference, you can put in another image, but this is the only other image I have in there right now. You put in a new product, and then look at that. We've got a second product in here. It's a flower, and then you redo all of this. Okay, so I want you guys to make a second product on your lists page, and then zip it all up, and you can just send me the list.html. You don't have to zip up the entire folder, but I'll make a submission for that for the weekly lab here in week 3. So assignment. Just if you guys have any questions, you can ask me now about it, but week 3 lab. Please submit lists.html code with a new product underneath the black top hat that we did in class. I'll make this due. I don't know. I'll give you guys a couple days to do it, but we did it all in class, so you should have it done. But for those of you guys who are watching asynchronously, I'll give you guys the weekend to do it. So Sunday night, please submit your list.html code with a new product underneath the black top hat that we did in class. Using the font awesome icons for the stars and the shopping cart buttons. Straightforward?
Yeah. Ben, my stars didn't show up the same. Like the half star doesn't have an outline like the one.
Oh, yeah, I switched which one I was going to use. So if you look at the stars here, there's something called, if I type in half, there's star half and then star dot dash half alt.
Oh,
So this
okay.
one is probably the one you're using, star dash half.
Right.
I just added the alt to the end
Yeah.
of it, and it adds that little outline border. It's
That
up to
makes
you.
more sense. It looks
Yeah.
more logical there. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's what I thought. So I kind of just was like, oh, I'll use that one. So sorry, I
Okay.
might have just done that quickly, but cool. Yeah. In class lab, any questions about that, or does that make sense? List.html code with a new product underneath the black top hat we did in class, using the font awesome icons for the stars and the shopping cart buttons. Use a new image, royalty-free image, and link it to your second product with a relevant product description. Cool. I will make that due Sunday night. Sunday night, good for you guys? Is that enough time? Net worth 5. Awesome. Coolio. All right. Well, you can find that little submission there, week 3 lab, right there at the top. I will upload this recording when it comes, but right now for your reference, the old recording from last semester is there until the new one is posted. You can find the starter code on my GitHub if you guys want to do what we did in class, and it's in the root folder there as well. I'll stop the recording here.